Hey there, my name is Maria, and today I'm talking with you about how to take your cooking to the next level. I'm going to go over just some ideas that you can use to take your home cooking into the foods that you really enjoyed before COVID happened, where you had to cook everything yourself. So now that you're stuck at home, here are some cool ideas to take things to the next level. I'm going to first start talking about why you should not be afraid of fresh herbs. So I like to think of my herbs in two different categories, kind of the woodier herbs and then the softer herbs. The woodier herbs are the herbs that have stems that are like wood, that you wouldn't straight up eat because it would be like eating wood. And that would be thyme, oregano, marjoram, rosemary. So those are going to be the herbs that you're going to strip the leaves off and then usually either chop them really fine or use them in dishes like sauces, soups, things that you're going to cook down for a long time. And then the softer herbs are like mint, basil, tarragon, parsley, cilantro, dill, chives. Those can all be combined together in a dish that can be eaten straight up. They don't have to be steeped or cooked down. You can combine those together and eat them in pilafs, in your salad dressing. You can put them with a little bit of oil and acid and put them on top of fish or chicken. So don't be afraid of fresh herbs. They're really up your cooking game at home. So next I want to talk about how veggies love fat and heat. This is important, I think, because roasted vegetables are good all season long, no matter what season you're in. And this is a way to whatever is coming from your garden or your farmer's market can be elevated to deliciousness. But there's kind of a trick to it. And it's a trick that everybody can do in their home. It's not a challenging one. And that is fat and heat. So right here I have a little squash and some carrots. And when I say veggies need fat, what I'm saying is it needs to be really covered. So I'm making sure that there's a lot of oil in my pan. I'm even going so far as to adding both olive oil and a little bit of coconut oil because I'm just crazy like that. And then I'm just going to use my hands and make sure that both sides of both vegetables are completely covered. And no matter what vegetable you're using, it will be the same. Okay, so next up I'm going to add some salt and pepper. And as I mentioned, the other thing that veggies love, other than lots of fat, is high heat. So I have my oven up to 450 right now. Sometimes when I'm feeling really wild, I'll go up to 500. Sometimes when you are roasting your vegetables at such high heat, it can get a little bit smoky, but it makes it more fun. And the vegetables come out perfectly. Think about a wood-fired stove. If you've ever had veggies, or obviously if you have a pizza coming out of there, but if you've ever had veggies or anything, mostly veggies cooked in a wood-fired stove, they're just amazing because of that high heat. So we're trying to simulate that at home in our oven. I'm going to put it in, and then I'll show you what it looks like after about 10 or 15 minutes. So just really quick, I wanted to show you how these veggies turned out using that high heat and lots of fat. And as you can see, they're totally cooked through, perfectly cooked through, but still have a bit of their form and have a little bit of golden on the outside. You could even let them go a little bit longer if you wanted to, but veggies love heat and fat. Okay, so now we're going to talk about start with an onion. The value of cooking your onions down really well before you make whatever you're making, whether it be marinara or chili or anything like that, that starts with the onion as a base. A lot of times people talk about caramelization, and this is different than that. What this is we're cooking the onions down low and slow so they don't get any color, and they really kind of do more than caramelize, and this really ups your game. So here is an example of what I had going on here. As you can see, the onions are not colored, and they really look like they could fall apart with a fork if you press on them. And this will be a really amazing base to anything that you're cooking at home. All right, salt. Using alternative salts is a good way to up your culinary game. As you can see here, I have a lot of just straight up salts, sea salts, I have pickling salt, I have New Zealand fine salt. But then there are some other ways that you can integrate salt into your food, into your cooking. I have here miso paste. This is a great way to add to anything that has liquid. So any sort of liquid base, any sort of soup or curry or stock. You can add this sauce, salad dressing. You can add miso instead of adding salt. I have here some nori seaweed that I hand foraged here in the Northern California coast, and then just added some olive oil and a little bit more sea salt. This is a great way to integrate a healthy food and legit sea salt from the plant. And then if you want to get really fancy, you could also use fish sauce. And fish sauce, depending on what fish it's made with, can really add a lot of depth along with the salt, which really brings the flavor forward in whatever you're cooking. So for example, I make kale chips, and the sauce that I use in my kale chips, I use fish sauce instead of salt. And that really brings a lot of umami. And all these different forms of alternative salts will really bring umami to all your dishes. And salt is really important in making your food taste better and bring the flavors forward. So don't be shy to use alternative salts. Number 5 is go with the grain. So cooking at home, a lot of times we can get stuck on using the same grains over and over again. For me, it could be brown rice and quinoa. Those are kind of my go-to, but there's so many other grains. For example, with rice, you can do black rice, wild rice, jade rice, sticky rice, jasmine rice. That's just the rices. And then there's all these other grains. For example, we already talked about quinoa. Everybody knows that's a popular one, but let's do something other than that, like farro, millet, amaranth, barley. There's so many other grains that you can use that you can integrate into your everyday dish to go with the grain. All right, so our final tip is fry an egg like a pro. I think this is important for not just your breakfast, but I like to put a fried egg on pretty much everything. So we already talked about veggies, we talked about grains and herbs. You can put all those things together, fry an egg on it, and it's good. It's a meal right there. There's your protein. So to fry an egg like a pro, I got my cast iron pan nice and hot. It's been going for a bit. There's no oil in the pan right now. And eventually you'll start to see your pan will start to smoke a little bit. And then I'm going to add the oil. Okay, so after I dropped the eggs in the pan, I turned it from high to medium. So right now it's on medium. If you don't have a gas stove, a good trick for this is to have one electric stove on high and then another one on medium. So then you can just move the pan from one to the next to make that same thing happen. And as this is happening, you'll see that the outsides start to get a little bit brown. But really what I'm trying to do is, what I prefer for a fried egg is the yolk to still be runny and everything else to be hard. So I'm gonna let that cook for a little bit and I'll show you what it looks like after when we're done. All right, so this is ready, and what I'm looking for is the outside is brown and kind of curling up a little bit. The whites are cooked through and the yolk is still a little bit runny. And so that egg is ready to go. Fry an egg like a pro. So just to go over what we learned today, don't be afraid of using fresh herbs. Veggies love high heat and fat. Start with a good base with your onion. Use alternative salts. Go with the grain and learn to fry an egg like a pro. Hopefully these tips can help you up your game while you're stuck at home, get more creative in the kitchen, and make food that you love and enjoy. Thanks for watching, and bon appetit.